Hello, wonderful readers. If you enjoy stories of high-stakes revenge, brilliant minds, and stunning twists, you're in the right place. Please consider giving this story a like if it hooks you, share it with fellow book lovers who would enjoy it, and subscribe for more thrilling tales. Now, let's begin. The Mediterranean sun was a brilliant, unforgiving gold on the day Elara Vance was supposed to die. From the deck of the Serenity, the 100-meter yacht she owned but had never loved, she watched her husband, Julian, laugh with a group of investors. His smile was easy, his charm a weapon he wielded with precision. Elara, however, felt a chill that had nothing to do with the sea breeze. It had begun with a single notification, a fleeting glimpse of a transferred file on Julian's unlocked tablet named Project Phoenix, linked to her most cunning competitor, Isabella Rossi. A deep, instinctual dread had taken root. In business, as in life, Elara trusted her algorithms. And the algorithm of Julian's behavior was spelling out betrayal. That night, as a storm brewed on the horizon, a different kind of storm crystallized in Elara's mind. She accessed the yacht's security system, a network she herself had designed, and created a blind spot. Clutching a prepositioned life preserver, she took one last look at the lit windows where Julian was spinning tales of their future, a future he was systematically stealing. She let the life preserver fall into the churning water and followed it. The cold was a shock. She clung to the ring, watching the Serenity continue its path, oblivious. She had vanished. 24 hours later, a Coast Guard search was underway. Julian, on every news channel, was the picture of devastated grief. "My Elara, my everything." He sobbed, his performance flawless. But Elara was watching from a world away. In a minimalist Zurich apartment that served as her command center, she observed her own funeral via livestream. She saw Julian leaning on Isabella Rossi for support, a gesture that confirmed everything. Her loyal confidant, Marcus, stood beside her. "He's already liquidating my memorial fund," Elara said, her voice a whisper, cold as steel. "Start tracing every cent, Marcus. I want the entire web." She was no longer Elara Vance, the betrayed wife. She was a ghost, and she was now in the machine. Weeks bled into a month. In the public eye, Julian Vance was the grieving widower, gracefully stepping into the role of interim CEO of EtherTech. In private, he was a man transformed, his grief replaced by a hungry ambition. He began proposing a merger with Rossi Industries, citing a legacy Elara would have wanted. In Zurich, Elara and Marcus worked tirelessly. The safe house was a symphony of silent efficiency, a wall of screens displaying financial ledgers, encrypted communications, and live feeds from cameras she had secretly planted. "He's good," Marcus stated. "He's routing the funds through 3 shell companies in the Caymans. But he's getting sloppy. Greedy." "Greed is a predictable variable," Elara replied, her voice steady. "He thinks there's no one left to check his math." She uncovered it all, the siphoning of R&D funds, the inflated invoices from fake contractors that led back to Isabella, and the life insurance payout he had already used as collateral. One evening, she watched a live feed of Julian and Isabella in his study, toasting with Dom Perignon. "To us. And to Ether Rossi. In a week, it'll be official," Julian said. "She really was a genius." "Pity she never learned to play the game," Isabella replied. "She played by her own rules." "A fatal flaw," Julian answered. Elara felt a white-hot spike of pain, but she channeled it into resolve. "It's time to introduce a little chaos into their game," she told Marcus. "Leak the preliminary SEC inquiry. Anonymously. Let them sweat." The trap was set. The EtherTech annual gala was draped in a veneer of somber tribute. Holographic portraits of Elara flickered amongst the guests. Julian, in a black tuxedo, worked the room, accepting condolences with practiced grace. He was poised to give the keynote eulogy that would seamlessly transition into the merger announcement. In a private limousine outside, Elara took a steadying breath. She wore a stark, white pantsuit, a deliberate contrast to the funereal black. All systems are green, Marcus said, tablet in hand. The evidence package is loaded. Good, Elara said. Let's give the world a show they'll never forget. Inside, Julian took the stage. We gather tonight to remember. Elara was the soul of ether. Her light was extinguished too soon. He began, his voice trembling with false emotion. But we must be brave. That is why, tonight, I am announcing a new beginning. The hologram of Elara's portrait flickered. The serene smile twitched, the eyes shifted focus. A collective gasp rippled through the audience as the image resolved into a live feed. It was Elara, her face calm, her eyes sharp. Did you really think I'd miss my own party, Julian? Pandemonium. Cameras flashed, people shouted. Julian stood frozen, his mouth agape. All eyes followed the figure walking down the central aisle, the click of her heels the only sound in the stunned silence. She walked onto the stage, stopping a few feet from him. You've all heard a beautiful eulogy, she said to the audience, her voice projected and calm. But a crucial chapter was omitted. The chapter about betrayal. On the screen, the tender portrait vanished, replaced by a cascade of damning evidence. My husband and Isabella Rossi did not simply mourn my passing. They used it. Financial trails unfolded like a spider's web. Then, the text messages appeared, the package is ready. Once she's gone, ether is ours. Isabella shot to her feet, only to be blocked by security now working for a different CEO. But perhaps they'll respond to the audio. Elara tapped her phone. The ballroom filled with Julian and Isabella's own voices, plotting, laughing, toasting to her demise. She played by her own rules. A fatal flaw. The crowd was in an uproar. Julian backed away, a broken man. He looked at Elara, his eyes wide with terror and disbelief. Elara. You wanted my fortune, my company, my legacy, she said, her voice soft but carrying, the hurt finally visible. You thought you could bury me. But you should have known. I always have a backup plan. As federal agents moved in to escort Julian and Isabella away, Elara turned to the crowd. She stepped up to the podium, the silence absolute. As you can see, reports of my death were greatly exaggerated, she declared. Ether tech is not for sale. It is not for merging. It is, and will remain, the company I built. And we have work to do. She wasn't just a woman who had faked her death. She was Elara Vance. The wife who wasn't dead. The architect of her own resurrection. And she was just getting started.